year's Christmas Eve seemed to find everyone busy with their own plans. For instance, Brief was using a robot he built himself to define whether Panty would fall in love with him. Gunsmith Bitch, who happened to be passing by, suggested that instead of relying on a robot, he should let a master divine it or like her calculate the odds for him. However, the results showed that Brief's chance of a successful confession to Panty was 0, unless he chose Lingerie Paradise as the location, in which case his chances would increase by a negligible amount. Thinking that any chance above 0 was still an opportunity, Brief immediately started scrambling to buy tickets for Lingerie Paradise. Yet, Gunsmith Bitch's divination also revealed that Brief's probability of successfully getting tickets was equally 0. Meanwhile, Socks, who was watching a movie, couldn't stand the noise of Panty having sex with Santa Claus upstairs. She stormed into Panty's room and demanded they keep it down. Instead, she found herself being asked by Santa Claus, who had been accidentally injured during the act, to take over his task of delivering Christmas gifts. After Socks finished delivering the gifts and returned home, she found everyone busy putting up Christmas decorations. It turned out that, for various reasons, everyone's original Christmas plans had fallen through, leaving them no choice but to gather together again to spend Christmas Eve. To thank Socks for completing his task, Santa prepared a special gift for her. When Socks opened it, she discovered it was the very Lingerie Paradise tickets Brief longed for, and even a family package. Seizing this rare opportunity, Socks simply invited everyone to go to Lingerie Paradise together to celebrate New Year's Eve. However, plans often can't keep up with changes. On this day, Panty and Stocking received a letter from Heather. Their father, Linear, wished for them to return to heaven immediately. Although unsure of the reason, Panty and Stocking decided to go back, meaning they likely wouldn't be able to join Brief and the others for New Year's Eve at Lingerie Paradise. Thinking his confession plan was about to be ruined, Brief strongly objected to Panty and Stocking leaving. With no other choice, Panty and Stocking had to take Brief and the others along to heaven, planning to return together afterwards to visit Lingerie Paradise. After asking Chuck and Faceter to stay behind and look after the house, everyone boarded the bus bound for heaven. Panty initially thought that, as the daughters of the Heavenly Emperor, bringing a few people along would be effortless. However, the border guards only recognized official permits, not individuals. They wouldn't even let Panty and Stocking through, let alone the others. Just everyone was at a loss. Polyester and polyurethane appeared, conveying an order from Heaven's chief prosecutor Rami. Panty and Stocking were permitted to bring relevant divine personnel with them. With the chief prosecutor's verbal decree, everyone was allowed to pass together except Brief, who, being an ordinary human article, was deemed an irrelevant person and barred from entry. Left with no choice, he had to wait outside the checkpoint for Panty and the others to return. Unexpectedly, he overheard a conversation between two guards, got startled, and fell back to the human world. Meanwhile, Panty and Stocking met their father and mother. From them, they learned that because their scandals had been exposed, Linear's public support rating had plummeted drastically. To avoid a potential coup, Linear planned to pass his throne to Panty and Stocking. At that moment, Rami suddenly interrupted their conversation. He immediately arrested Scanty and the others, accusing Panty and Stocking of not only smuggling irrelevant personnel into heaven, but also consorting with demons. He declared that such individuals were utterly unqualified to inherit the throne, and that he himself was the rightful successor. Initially, Linear thought his younger brother was joking, until Rami tricked him into signing the throne transfer agreement, making Linear realize Rami was serious. After successfully usurping the throne, Rami transformed Linear and his wife into powder and collected them. He then summoned the gods of heaven, proclaiming that heaven was now under his control. To completely reform the decadent heaven under Linear's rule, he decided to merge all the heavenly gods into one entity. At first, the others didn't understand what Rami meant, until he transformed all the gods into powder and forged them into a giant statue. It was then that Garterbelt realized Rami intended to use the lives of the gods to create the legendary forbidden weapon. Meanwhile, Brief, who had fallen back to the human world, landed right in front of Gunsmith Bitch's shop. From the guard's conversation, he had already learned of Rami's plan. Worried that Panty and the others might be in danger, Brief urgently asked Gunsmith Bitch to find a way to get him back to heaven. For a mortal, the only legitimate way to enter heaven was through death. Therefore, Gunsmith Bitch prepared a fake death potion for Brief. Not only that, he also enlisted Chuck as Brief's helper. Under the effect of the potion, Brief and Chuck set off on the path to heaven. Back in heaven, Panty and Stocking stated that this was an internal matter of heaven and had nothing to do with Scanty and the others. They demanded that Rami release them and deal directly with themselves instead. Unexpectedly, Scanty mocked Panty, asking why she was acting so cool, and stated that she and Socks hadn't fallen so low as to need Angel's help to escape danger. Annoyed by their remarks at such a time, Panty and Stocking couldn't help but prepare to teach them a lesson, but accidentally ended up knocking Scanty and the others out of heaven. Polyester and Polyurethane believed this was all part of Panty's plan and requested permission from Rami to pursue the escaped demons. Rami, however, was unconcerned, stating that with the forbidden weapon, both the human world and hell would be obliterated in an instant, leaving them nowhere to escape. Since Panty and Stocking were still only angels and couldn't be used as material for the weapon, Rami decided to turn them into stone statues, forcing them to witness how he would destroy the human world and hell. Simultaneously, Garterbelt, back in the human world, also found Gunsmith Bitch. Learning that Brief and Chuck had already returned to heaven using the fake death potion, Garterbelt drank the fake death potion without hesitation. However, not everyone goes to heaven after death. When Garterbelt woke up, he found himself in the borderlands of hell. Furthermore, he encountered Scanty and Socks there. Upon hearing that Garterbelt wanted them to return to heaven with him to save Panty and Stocking, Scanty asked why they should care about those dead angels' fate. Garterbelt told them to think back on the time they spent living with Panty and the others. However, Scanty and Socks could only recall being treated like servants by Panty and Stocking. Although it wasn't exactly what Garterbelt had planned, Scanty and Socks, thinking they couldn't let those two off so easily, agreed to his request. Coincidentally, a rainbow bridge shot down from heaven into hell at that moment. Garterbelt and the others decided to climb back to heaven via this path. Halfway up, they noticed a speck of god powder rolling down the bridge towards hell. Realizing this was Rami's signal to declare war on hell, Scanty knew time was running short. She summoned Fastener, commanding it to revert to its jaded dragon form to carry them swiftly to heaven. Elsewhere, Brief and Chuck, who had infiltrated heaven, managed to steal the petrified figures of Panty and Stocking. Just as they were cornered by polyester and polyurethane, Garterbelt arrived with Scanty and Socks just in time to rescue them. Infuriated by this group repeatedly disrupting his plans, Rami decided to eliminate them personally. He told Brief that even a human couldn't completely withstand the damage from heavenly weapons. Brief responded that he would protect Panty, even if it meant being shattered to pieces. Just as Rami prepared to finish off Brief, the petrified Panty and Stocking suddenly moved and blocked his attack. Rami was shocked that they could move even as statues. He ordered Polyester and Polyurethane to join him in eliminating these traitors of heaven. Surprisingly, the heavenly weapons not only failed to harm Panty and Stocking but also cured their petrification. It turned out that because Panty and Stocking had both died in the human world and been reborn there, they were no longer angels originating from heaven, thus making them immune to heavenly weapons. Rami retorted that it didn't matter, as activating the forbidden weapon would ultimately allow him to rule the world. With that, he merged with Polyester and Polyurethane, transforming into a giant humanoid mecha to battle Panty and the others. Panty and the others declared they couldn't let Rami's boring plan ruin their New Year's Eve plans for lingerie paradise. United, they worked together to destroy Rami's mecha form. As Panty and the others approached, Rami tried to make a last stand. Unexpectedly, Gunsmith Bitch appeared at that moment, stating that to thank Panty and the others for their continued patronage, he had prepared a new weapon for them free of charge this time, the bastard gun. Wielding the bastard gun, Panty finally succeeded in defeating Rami and his cohorts. However, unnoticed by everyone, Rami had secretly activated the launch mechanism. Garterbelt deduced that injecting the bastard energy from the bastard gun into the statue could disrupt the energy balance within, reverting the statue back into the gathered gods. Without delay, everyone charged towards the statue, holding the bastard gun high. Ultimately, they destroyed the statue just before it could fall into hell. Afterwards, Panty and Stocking's father, Linear, resumed his position on the Heavenly Emperor's throne. As for Rami, Linear didn't punish him severely but instead exiled him, along with Polyester and Polyurethane, to the human world. Finally, New Year's Day arrived. With everyone's help, Brief successfully confessed to Panty on the Ferris wheel. Just as everyone thought things had concluded perfectly, a giant hand suddenly appeared and snatched away Brief and Panty. Several years later, Stocking replaced Garterbelt as the priest. One day, she gave an order to the children who bore a striking resemblance to Brief and Panty, to find their missing father and mother. And so, the story comes to a pause here. Just like the first season, the tale of Panty and Stocking concludes with an unexpected development. As for whether there will be a third season, that remains a matter of perhaps within our lifetime. Follow my channel for the latest updates on new anime storyline.